And what is going on, YouTube? Julian back with another video. And if you're usually here for my tours, I apologize. This time I'm going to do an informative video. I just do not want to pass a certain point of my uploads, and it has been really hard to find a house as of lately. But what I do want to do is I do want to be informative and I do want to be helpful, because that's basically what my job is. And I want to help you first home buyers be able to understand the process of buying a home and just show you how simple it is. I'm gonna try to be as entertaining as possible. For some reason, people don't want to hear me talk, so I'm gonna try to make this as interesting as possible throughout the video. But if not just for that, stay here so that way you can see how easy it is to get your first house. Alright guys, now let's get straight to it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, especially if you want to catch some unique homes that we have here in San Antonio, Texas. It doesn't matter if you're moving here or not. I mean, some of these properties are awesome, they're phenomenal, and I'm just showcasing what Texas has to offer. That's not your standard home, but I'm also giving you information to increase your knowledge in real estate, so that way if you basically want to move to a house or maybe invest, I'm going to continue to do these videos in the future. And I'm starting with the people who are trying to get their first home. So this is for you guys. The first step that it's going to be is pretty much that you want to either find your realtor or you want to get pre-approved. If you're already going through a bank, basically what that means is you can utilize your bank to get pre-approved, so that's a lender, to buy your house. And I usually advise to get that done before you do anything. But if you don't really have a specific bank that you like, then get in touch with the realtor first, because we usually have a bunch of lenders that we work with. We can let you pick one, or we can send our preferred lender to you. And it's usually because we've had a really good experience with them in closing homes. So I would definitely advise to either get in touch with the realtor, or if you're set on using your bank, use your bank. And it's a super simple process. Let's go through that real quick. All right, let me just show you how easy it is, guys. Just look up mortgage lenders, for example. Scroll down, you can look at it, kind of gives you an idea of percentage rates right now. But this is just an example. You got Bank of America mortgage, you have a line mortgage, which is really good for veterans here in San Antonio, by the way. Keep scrolling down, you just see a few things here and there. You can go to more than one lender and you can choose your best, whoever gives you the best percentage. If you go through a certain amount of time, it's like buying a car and you end up not running your credit more than once. But if you wait like a whole month or two and then run your credit through a different lender, then it's going to affect your credit again. I would always advise to get a local lender. Reason being is a local lender is able to get an appraiser much quicker. Average closing for a home is about 30 to 45 days. And if you have an outside lender, there's a possibility they might not get an appraiser in there and quick enough. And if that happens, that means that you're not going to be able to close your house in time. And not only that, but one time I had a client who was working with an outside lender who said that they were approved for about $400,000. But when it came down to the nitty gritty and we were going to submit an offer, we were already told by my lender that I personally use, because I was asking him questions, that in their situation, they more than likely should not have been approved for the amount that they were approved for. And so he tried to run everything for them, and it turned out that they weren't approved for $400,000, they were approved for much less. And reason being that you want to work with someone local as opposed to out of state is just because they usually have your back, and the realtor more than likely knows them. And so you want to be able to make sure that you don't get somebody telling you that you can get $1 million house, when in reality you can only get half of that. That is a huge letdown. And then once you get under contract, there's possibilities of losing money when it gets down to the underwriter who accepts and approves everything, and nobody wants that. Number 2. And that is going to be finding your home, the second step. And that's the step that everybody likes. That's the step that everybody wants to skip to. But the first one is the most important, only because you want to know where your price range is at, and you want to be able to look at homes that you can afford. And I mean that in the most non-disrespectful way. It's just how it is. Banks are super picky. Underwriters are super picky on what they're going to approve. The underwriters basically, when they say like if your loan can go through or not for a specific home. But picking your home, and so that's an easy one. Just begin your search and just start looking to see what feels right. Wow, it's perfect. Step number 3. Step number 3 is you found your dream home. You're ready to move in. You want to live there, but it's not that easy. So step number 3, you definitely want to talk to your realtor, see what's going on with the property, see if there's going to be a multiple offer situation. But let's just say, for the sake of number 3, you get your offer accepted. And so if you get your offer accepted, basically what that means is the house is now under contract. And under contract doesn't necessarily mean it's quite yours yet, but you are in your active option period. And what that is you're going to set a specific time frame with your realtor, whether it's 7 to 10 days. You don't even need one if you don't want one, but I would definitely advise to have an option period. But that is when you're able to get the property inspected to see if there's anything major, and you can renegotiate before the end of the 10 days to have the seller fix whatever issue it is. But I would, depending on what it is, I would maybe advise just during this time frame, because it's so competitive, to be very nitpicky and don't be very nitpicky, but don't be picking every little detail. If there's like a small little crack, don't be like, I need that fixed right now, unless it's something that's like a structural damage or that can cause structural damage. But so you're under active option now, and you are renegotiating your repairs, or you can decide to pull out of the agreement if you want. But remember, if you do decide to pull out, that the seller gets to keep your option check, which is how much you have to negotiate. So the option period isn't free. Maybe give like $10 for 10 days. That's my usual average. It always works out. All right, and now we're down to step number 4. Step number 4 is title and loan review. And so pretty much what that is you've already passed your option period, so there's no pulling out now. I mean, you really could if you wanted to, but you also have the chance of losing your earnest money, which is 1% of the home. And if you don't understand what I mean by that, then definitely go to my last upload. I will put it down on my description. It's not my most recent upload, but as far as like informative uploads, and it tells you exactly what you need as far as cost for buying a home. So I'll put that down in the description. Make sure you finish this video first, so that way you have a good general understanding of what you need to do when you're gonna be under contract and you're not as stressed out. But title and loan review, pretty much what that is during this time frame, you want to make sure that you don't buy a new car, you don't max out your credit card, just try not to add debt in general. Because what happens is when you first get pre-approved, they're looking at what your current state, your current debt to income ratio, and if anything or for any reason you increase your debt before the end of closing, even though you're already under contract, it doesn't mean it's yours. And so that's a huge issue, and you can end up losing the house of your dreams. So don't do that. And then another one is you're going to have an appraiser come to the house. So let's just say the house you loved was $400,000, and you're like, I'm gonna bid $410,000. And the appraiser comes in and says it's not worth $410,000, it's only worth $400,000. So what happens is that you're gonna have to pay the remainder cash. So pretty much on top of whatever the cost of a home is, plus now you're gonna have to add an additional $10,000 on top of that to cover the rest of it, because your loan won't reach out that far because it wasn't appraised at the house at the price that you offered. But don't worry about that, because most of the time if we go up just a little bit like that, you usually will appraise. But it really depends. If the person's overpriced, then just be wary of it. But that's why you get a realtor, so that way they can run numbers for you and tell you whether the house is overpriced or not. Number 5 is closing. And that's the most simple one. Is you've made it to the end of this entire journey. It's been about 30 to 45 days, hopefully not longer, but you got to the table, you were signing the paperwork, and now you own your first home. It's as simple as that, guys. I know I made it sound really, really easy. It's not that simple sometimes. There's so many different things that can come up, but that's, like I said, why you always get yourself a realtor. We've overcome so many different situations, or we've kind of come across many different situations. But other than that, I want to make sure that you know it's not really as hard as you think it is, because a lot of people who want to buy their first home think it's a super overcomplicated situation. It's really not. I mean, if you're making like $1,200 to $1,400 and not a month, every 2 weeks, and you don't really have a lot of debt, like, you more than likely can be approved for something. Of course, like I said, you're going to have some money saved up. That way you can utilize that as a down payment, cover your closing costs, pay your title and survey if needed. We can go into more depth with all those directions later. But like I said, check my last video down in the description box if you are ready to move forward and you're like wanting to buy a house now. So that way you know exactly what you need as far as upfront funds. But all right, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video, and stay tuned for some awesome tours. I promise I will find a house soon, and we'll get that going.